Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Reborn Dolls with Karen. I have to keep remembering to say that. We're back with little Marissa. We've been rooting on her and we're going to come back today and see if we can get her finished. This is how she looks now. After we stopped the last video, I did a lot more rooting. I just continued what we had started and just came down to about right here with the front, came up to about right here with the back, and like I said, we have a little space here that almost looks like an eye, a little eye shape. And so at first blush, you're going, I just can't see how we'd go any further back with this top hair. And you also say the same thing about this bottom hair. Can we go any higher? I just don't know. But we're going to have to do both because we have to close this gap. So this is why I do it this way. You might be a little unsure of how much more back hair you need or how much more front hair you need. And by doing it this way, you can now see, oh yeah, I'm going to have to fill that in. So I'm going to have to like almost split this, half up here and half down there. So it's a little bit easier to see. I have my needle right here and a fly in the room, evidently. Did I turn my pillow the wrong way? I can't even stick that in. Yep, that's the way it goes. I'm so used to sticking my needle in. It's made a permanent little place here on one side where you can stick the needle in. Well, it was. Anyway, but anyway, we're going to try to root on her a little bit more and get her finished. And I have two other dolls that I rooted, and we're going to practice cutting hair. Here's my little bag of hair that I made up. And we're going to see how quickly we can get her finished. It's not really a race, but I've been rooting for days and days. And while I was waiting to be able to finish this video with y'all, I rooted two other dolls. That's how long it's been taking for these videos to download. Anyway, I have some bundles of hair here that I made up in advance. Some of them are a little better than others. This one's very wispy. We're going to try to use all of them. Just a speck. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start by doing another row on the back of the head. And now that we're so far up on the back, we can't leave it completely upside down because we can't reach it. So I'm just going to tilt it a little bit forward, which also requires us to tilt our needle a little bit back, which is tricky sometimes because you could break your needle. So you have to be careful. And we're just going to root as best we can. We probably will bend a few needles now. Maybe even break one. Sometimes when you're breaking the needle, it will break off into the head of the doll. Well, that's where it does break, but the piece that breaks off isn't sticking out at all. It's totally inside the head. So when we pull out the polyfill, we'll have to get it out. Sometimes you have to use some needle nose pliers or something to pull it. It's still stuck in the head, but it's inside the head, the part that you can grab hold of, if that makes any sense at all. We are just putting in hairs a little at a time here and filling these little gaps up that are along this back here. I don't know if you can tell, it's not an even, excuse me, I have hiccups. It's not an even straight line. There's little parts that aren't filled in completely. So I'm working on that first, filling those little pieces in. Don't worry about some of the hairs longer than others because we are going to cut the hair. So I'm going to be using a few different techniques. We may mix them up on the doll. We may do one whole technique on the entire doll. You just have to sort of play it by ear, but I'm going to show you a couple different ways to cut your doll's hair. They're both very easy and very straightforward. I learned them from another artist that I watched cut hair, and you can learn it from me. It's very easy. One of them, well, I kind of improvised on it. One of them I totally learned from another artist, and the other one I sort of just said, okay, how do you use these scissors anyway? Let me see if I can figure it out. I have a couple of different kinds of scissors. These little bundles are hard to use because the hair is so wispy. It's running out, so to speak, and it makes such a thin little pile that you can't hardly even use it. And some bundles of hair has more wispy than others, because all goat hair is not the same length, and they just group it together, and the overall length, it'll tell in the listing, is 6 or 7 or however many inches they're advertising that it is, but all the hair in the bundle will not be that long. So if you're wanting a doll with really long hair, you might want to look for a bundle of hair that's longer. I think sometimes, I don't know, I would like to think they wouldn't do this because it sounds like cheating to me. I think they don't always put all the hair at the same level at the top so that some of it will come down longer. I think it's more like 5 inches long. I don't know, but you shouldn't want any hair that's 5 inches long on your doll. Anyway, these are newborns. They're not toddlers. Even toddlers don't have hair that long. They, now where's my toothbrush? Lots of hair in my toothbrush. You're going to always have lots of hair in your toothbrush. Oh, that fly. Almost every time you open the door, a fly gets in. It's that time of the year when they're trying to get in the house, I guess, so they don't die from coldness outside. It's not cold enough here in Tennessee yet, but it's getting on to it's in September, almost late September. It's enough, you know, they can tell the difference in the temperature outside, I guess. If you're not feeling any hair pull away, you're not getting any hair in the head. And this wispy little bundle's not getting much in there anyway. I'm changing bundles to save time. Usually I'd use a lot of this hair that I have over here that's in some pretty bad bundles. I'll just reformulate it. What I do is I take the rubber bands off. I try to straighten it a little. Sometimes I pick at it with the needle and try to get some of the tangles out of it. And then I'll form it into another bundle. Sometimes I'll cut a part of it off because it's too knotted. And in that way, it's usable again. You might lose part of it. I'm just going across this back section of the back hair to try to fill in some of these gaps and make it a little more even. That's how we're going to see where we're at, really. Let's keep it even. And you want to keep it calm, too. But the one thing you don't want to do is end up with a tangly haired doll. Now, this part right over here, where the hair's coming down toward the ear, is a little bit short. It should be rooted up a little higher, like up to here. So I'm going to do that, and you just turn the head the way you want the hair to go, the opposite way of the way you want the hair to go, and you just root it. And as you're getting a little further up and a little further up and a little further up, the gap is closing. So we just keep doing this. It may take us a couple more video segments to do it, and then we'll probably take another whole video segment to cut the 3 dolls' hair. And so you can get a good feel for how to cut your doll's hair. Cutting hair is a little bit scary. I was terrified when it was time for me to cut a doll's hair. I just didn't want to do it. I was going, you know, as long as it's long, I can always make it short. But once I cut it, I can't put the hair back on. So it was like painting for the first time. You're just scared to do it. And you go, well, I just got to get over this and cut it. And so, yeah, I'm going to say my first couple of dolls, their hair was cut pretty bad because I used the snippy method. And I'll explain that to you when we're cutting hair. I just didn't know how to cut hair, and I was just going snippety all over the head and making a big mess. Now I'm going to turn the head, and I'm going to... See, every time you turn the head, it's messy because it's against that pillow. So we're just going to comb it back down to get it a little bit straighter. We don't want it to get matted or tangled or anything. And then we're going to put another row across this side. And it's heads up for that one, but we can't do it completely heads up because it's too far down. It's going over the round part of the head, so we have to just do it face forward. I'm going to do a little this way now. We definitely want to make sure that we have the hair that's going forward far enough back that it looks like, you know, your hair goes way back to here and it still comes forward. Way back. And we want to make sure that we're doing that to our doll, because it won't look natural if you don't. It is possible to not follow that, but it doesn't look good. A lot of people they tend to put the crown on the very top of the head when it should be over. It should be over the curve. See, it's like you're looking at the earth, and at that part where the sun is setting, it looks like it's going away, but it's really just going around the circle of the earth where you can't see it anymore. What they call the horizon, if you will. So the horizon of the baby's head is where, behind that horizon is where the crown actually goes. I know it looks like I'm just poking way too many times, but I'm not getting a hair every time I poke. I'm not that careful that I sit there and try to make sure every poke gets a hair. I can't see well enough I literally cannot micro root because I cannot see well enough to do it. So I just do the best that I can on my hair, and I think it looks good. So this is the way I do it, and it is a way for a beginner to root hair. And if you want to do something a little more elaborate later on, well, then you can branch out and do that. But if you want to root your doll's hair without too much muss and fuss, this is the way to do it. And I think it looks good. And no, it's not mono-rooted. It's not micro-rooted. It's just rooted. But I'm not going to say I never get a clump, because I do. But I don't get many clumps. Most of my holes probably have 2 to 3 hairs, maybe as many as 5. And that's not too pluggy, in my opinion. But a lot of other artists will tell you you don't even want 2 hairs in the hole. And I just think that's a little too picky. But, you're going to do what you want to do anyway, which is fine. But I'm just trying to show you that there is a way that you can root hair without too much muss and fuss and too much trouble. I just have too much trouble trying to do it any other way. And I don't have that many hours to root a doll's head either. It literally takes people, I've seen people post in the doll group that took them 2 months to root their doll's hair. Now, I'm assuming they didn't sit down for 2 or 3 hours at a time and do it, but maybe they did. It was just that hard. But if I sit down and really put myself into my work and don't pay too much attention to TV, I do watch TV while I'm rooting most of the time. But most of the time I'm looking at the doll's head and I'm just listening to the TV. If something sounds interesting, I'll stop and I'll look up and I'll see what it is, and then I'll go back to my rooting. But you kind of see it out of the corner of your eye, the TV. But if I'm doing a nice steady job on my rooting and I'm not just sitting there mostly watching TV, I can get a doll rooted in 5 or 6 hours probably. Sometimes I'll do it over 2 to 3 days because I don't really have that much time to watch TV. So I don't spend that much time rooting either. Keep on stopping and combing your hair out, because it's going to give you better hair at the end. I'm going to do a good bit up here on the top because it needs to go a lot further back before we finish up with the back hair coming up. Now that I can see what I want to do, I can do that. See, I didn't have a map at all on this doll's head, and it wasn't hard at all. You just keep doing what we were doing at the beginning. Just keep on doing it. And you just get further back and further back and further back to the point where you go, maybe I better stop and go the other way now. You just turn the head the other way and start rooting from the bottom. I mean, you can start on the bottom. You can start on the top. It doesn't make any difference. You start where you want to. Starting over the ears makes the best sense to me, because you need the ears done over the ears before you start going forward, because it's a kind of a guide for you to go forward. To the front. And but you don't need the ears done to do the back first. If you want to do the back first, you can root all the way up pretty much to where I'm at right now, without even doing any of the front. Let me make this lay down so you can see it a little bit better. You just start down here and you keep rooting up, 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 up. And as you get over here closer to the ears, you start going around the ears like I was showing you. It's pretty easy. See our gaps closing. You might not can tell yet, but because it's kind of a slow process. It really is. Trying to get that gap closed. Make sure there's no tangles in your hair. Because if it is, when you start to cut it, it's going to mess with your mind. You're not going to like it at all. And each layer of hair lays over the top of where you rooted the layer before, so it covers up anything that might look pluggy or overly rooted to you. Like you're going, I don't know about that. It's going to cover it up. So you can't see any of, all up and through here, you can't see any of where the roots are on any of the hair. You can't see it because it's totally covered by the layers that go before it. If you put it up like this, you can barely see it, except in the very, very front. Now, nobody goes with their doll's hair up like this, but now, see, you can see the rooting right there. But when you start to comb it down, the hair that comes over the top of that will cover it up, so you don't see it. And if you was to look right here, yeah, maybe you could see some roots, but we're going to cover that up too. See, covered, 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 all covered up. You don't see any of the roots. So is it pluggy? Shh, we're not going to tell. Now, if you're rooting that really, really, really sparsely rooted hair, it's going to show if it's pluggy. But I'm an over-rooter anyway, and I can't hardly stand those blank spaces on a doll's head. It looks stupid and crazy, like they have their hair falling out from chemo or something. And I just don't like it. And so I tend to fill it in anyway. So it's not going to matter a little bit if my hair is a little bit pluggy, because it's going to be covered, like I said. Oh, this hair. Your bundles go bad pretty quick. I mean, they're not bad. You can still use them. You just have to work at them a little bit. And I'm trying to not have to do that. I'm trying to save time by just getting a new bundle. So I'll have to work on this hair before I can use it on another doll. But I guarantee you I'm going to use it on another doll. It's way too much hair to lose. I have this much hair that I need to reformulate because it's too messed up to use. And I need to fix it. And that's too much to throw away. A lot of people just open a new bundle every time they do a doll, and whatever they don't use, they throw it away. A lot of people do that. And then there's the people who just root it really, really long. And I'm telling you, this is way too long. You're going to cut probably that much of it off. That much right there, and throw it away. So it's too long to begin with. But what they're using is really too long. Let's go with 5 or 6 inches long. That's too long. You have to cut 3 or 4 inches of it off. Babies just have very short hair. Seems like the hardest part of the hair is at the end. It's the hardest to root, probably because you're the tiredest. I just finished rooting Kyra, and my arm's kind of sore and hurting. I have tendon problems up here in my arm, and it makes it hurt. So it makes it harder to root. And so once you've done a little bit of rooting and your arm's starting to be a little bit tired, and you're coming down that home stretch about to be finished, It seems like that last little part, you're never going to get it. That's the way it seems to me. It's just like the last mile of a trip. You're almost home and you're tired and you want to be home. And it seems like that last mile takes forever to get home. I remember going on vacations and I couldn't hardly wait to get home when we were on our way home. And now we're right here. That looks kind of funny right here. You can see this hair's coming forward, this hair's going back, and this hair's coming up. So what do you do in that little spot? Well, you can do a variety of different things. Usually you just root this up a little bit more. But I kind of root it up and try to curve it. I root it up and try to curve it into this back hair just a little bit. So we're changing the direction just a little bit. Each time we poke the needle, we're going to change the direction slightly until it just looks like it's curving. It's going to be rooted in sort of a backwards question mark, if you will, where it looks like it's going to curve a little bit and go into the back hair. It's going to curve a little bit and be looking like it's rooted with the front hair. The angle is changing. We're changing the angle because we want it to come around and root down with the rest of this hair. And this is one of the times when you can break a needle. You need to make sure that you're not going at too steep of an angle as you're changing your angle. That way the hair, you can brush the hair this way, you can brush it that way, you can brush it forward, and it looks natural all those ways because you're almost rooting in a circle. Not quite, just a question mark, a backwards one. And once you get it angled, we're going to start going from the front only and bringing it to the back. I'm still curving it a little bit, but I've just about got the curve right. Oh, I wish that bug would quit flying around my face. I don't know if you can tell it yet. Yeah, you can almost tell it. You can almost tell it. The hair is now going a little more to the front than it is to the side. You can still make it go to the side if you want to. It's kind of transitional hair. I call that transitional hair because you can really put it down like this. You can also put it over like this, or you could actually put it all the way to the front. It's just rooted sort of circular. A little bit of it looks a little bit like it's laying over the top, but it's just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay, here we go. So now, instead of coming up any further with this, I'm just going to be coming from the front like this and filling it in from there. This is high enough. Over here, it's not. But over here, it's not quite as high. I don't know if you can tell. This is higher than this. This is all the way up here, and this is all the way down here. So you may not can tell the difference, but I can. And so I'm going to fill this side over here in a little bit to where it matches this side over here. This is not going to be any sort of award-winning hair or anything like that. It's just hair. My baby's going to have hair that I didn't have to draw on with a pencil. I like it much better than drawing on hair. And people seem to like rooted dolls, so... And I just recently sold 3 dolls, and everybody said, "Oh, I can't believe how beautiful this doll is." Well, they didn't say that, but they were saying, you know, it looks really good. I don't even have my phone. I was going to look and see if that other person got their doll today. If they left feedback, I was going to see what they said. One of the ladies said, so cute, like that. Looks just like the picture. So evidently she liked the way the picture looked, and she thought it was so cute. I'm going to run and get my phone and see if I can see if she left any feedback. Feedback's important, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Feedback's important because it lets us know how we're doing, what other people think of our work. The people who are actually buying our work, what do they think? And that's important because if we're not doing a good job, it's going to be reflected in our feedback. They're going to say, well, it looked good in the picture, but, you know, like that. So I'm going to look at this last lady's purchase and see if she left any feedback. No, she did not. But this lady did. The one who bought Priscilla, she left feedback. And she's the one that said, oh, so cute, like that. And this lady that bought Ever, she also left really nice feedback. But the lady who bought Jenny Asleep, she has not left any feedback. Sometimes they just don't. I don't know why, they just don't. And you can say, please leave feedback, but they still won't do it. And eBay reminds them too. I know, because when I've bought things, they bug the heck out of you till you leave some feedback. But some people just don't go to their eBay unless they're wanting to buy something and they've already bought their something, so they don't go to it, so they don't know they have feedback. If you turn off your notifications because they're annoying, I've gotten them in the middle of the night before. Oh, you're still watching this item. Did you know that? Okay. Yes, I knew it, but, you know, thanks for reminding me at 3 in the morning. And also, people tend to ask you questions in the middle of the night, too. This one lady was getting real chatty at like 3 in the morning. I said, she was, some question about the doll, like what size was it or something like that. So I answered it. And then she asked another question, and I go, okay, it's 3 in the morning. Oh, I'm a night owl. I go, well, I'm not. I was asleep. You know, you can't say that, but that's what I was thinking. I just went on and answered her questions. And anyway, she asked 2 or 3 more even after I told her, yeah, he's 15 inches long, but it's 3 in the morning. And she went on and asked 2 or 3 more questions after that. I mean, at least be a little bit considerate about the time. You know, people do need to sleep. Okay, that's a little more even. That makes me feel a little bit better. Yep, that looks better. It probably doesn't look to y'all like I've done anything to that wedge. It's much smaller than it was when I first started. But anyway, we're going to keep going. It might take a couple more segments of video because I don't like to keep them too long, because people go, yeah, she's still rooting. Let's do something else. I'd rather people watch a short video all the way through than watch half a video halfway, half of one longer video. Okay, I'm just going to be going from the top down now, probably for almost all of it. I might turn it another time, I don't know. But I think most of it needs to be front hair. And exactly where you place the crown is a personal preference. I don't really make a crown on my rooted dolls because it's too hard. It's too hard to make a swirly, round little swirl on the top of there. I just can't do that. I can't do it, and it's ugly. I don't like it. The ones that I've seen, people actually drew a round circle. They actually left it completely unrooted, and then they proceeded to make another circle, and it just looked funky. And I decided, okay, I'd rather there be no crown at all than to have a crown that looks like that. And it's a given. I'm not going to make a good looking crown, so I don't make crowns. I just bring the hair to a certain point in the front, and then I bring it up to meet it in the back. And it's crowny enough for me. Most people put bows and hats on their dolls anyway, and so they don't really see the crown. A few people might. There are people, and those people aren't going to be buying my dolls anyway, because like I said, I'm not hyper-realistic. So if your doll's not hyper-realistic in any other way, why does the hair need to be hyper-realistic? Ask yourself that and think about it for a while, because my answer is it doesn't. If you're I'm just wanting to make a pretty doll. It looks a lot like a baby. I've taken my dolls to Walmart, not because I'm trying to prove they look like babies, but because I wanted to try some shoes on them, or I wanted to try some socks on them, and I wanted to see if they were going to fit before I bought another whole pack of something that doesn't fit the doll. And so, but I remember this one time I took Jade, because she had the average size foot, that I was going to want to try some little socks on. I wanted to make sure they were the kind, because I know everybody's had socks on their baby or their doll, one or the other, that just came off their feet when you're carrying the baby or the doll from one spot to another. They just fall off. They're either too big or they just aren't those wiggle-proof socks. And I wanted to make sure, this was the first time I was buying wiggle-proof socks. It was quite a while back. And so I said, I want to make sure, I'm going to open the package and I'm going to try the socks on the doll. Because after all, if I buy them and they're wrong, I'm going to return them open anyway, so they might as well get opened at the store. So I took her into the store with me, and I was having trouble finding the socks. And I found a lady who was stocking the shelves. I said, can you help me? I need to find some socks. And she came over to look at the baby. I said, it's a doll. She goes, oh, I thought it was a real baby. I said, yeah, I get that a lot, but it's a doll. And anyway, long story short, people do still mistake them for real babies, even though they're not hyper realistic. So, I mean, I'm not trying to fool anybody really, but you know, a lot of people want their doll to look like a baby, and they still do to me. I don't know, they don't look overly realistic. I'm getting another bundle of hair just to save some time. I still have plenty of bundles there, but I only have one more that hasn't been used. It's very short. That's about the length you really need to root with. It's a little hard because when you're holding the bundle, you don't have much room to stab your needle before you're going to start stabbing your finger. So this length is a little hard to root with, but I've gotten used to it. And these newer bundles root really, really good. And I'm hoping maybe I can get most of this section rooted without having to get another bundle. I didn't realize there was so much still left to root. I was thinking, oh, well, that won't take too long. Maybe 30 minutes. We're already to 32 minutes, and we're not finished. Not even close. Still got probably another 30 minutes, maybe an hour before we're finished. And it's a little bit time-consuming to root dolls. So if you're having trouble watching the video, you're going to have trouble rooting the doll, because you're going to want to give up before you ever get there. It's very, very time-consuming. That's why I like to do something that isn't boring. Time seems to pass quicker when you're occupied in your mind, not just occupied with your hands. I'm a multitasker. I can't hardly do one thing at a time. I need to be doing something with my hands. So I don't really just watch TV all just TV. I'll scroll my phone, or I'll work a crossword puzzle, or that's what I used to do, work puzzles at the same time I watch TV, because I need to be doing something. And I just feel my hands are too idle. I don't know how to explain it. If you're like me, you understand it already. It's a little hard to just sit there. You can fold clothes, you can there's bunches of things you can do, but are there things you want to do? I like to root dolls. I really enjoy my craft. So look at all that hair in that toothbrush. So I want to do it, and but at the same time, I find it a bit boring to sit there in the absolute silence and root a doll. And when you're all by yourself, you tend to not talk out loud. I talk out loud a lot because I'm weird and different. If you've ever lived alone for long periods of time, you find you want to say something, and you can't always call people because they work or they're busy, and you want to talk. I have to get my talk out, and making videos helps me do that. I'm going to talk anyway. I might as well be talking to y'all. The gap is getting narrower, but it's a slow go. You can only root so fast. I think I'm kind of a fast rooter. I don't really know. I don't know how fast other people root, so I don't have anything to really compare to except what people say. See, you can tell the wedge is getting smaller. But a lot of people have made comments about how long it took them to root a doll, and I just think it's astronomically long, and I just don't understand. I don't understand some people's mentality. I don't understand some people's actions. I'm just weird and different. And it doesn't mean they're wrong because I can't understand it. It just means I can't understand it. But I guess the idea is the more realistic your doll actually looks, the more money you can get for it. I'm not sure that's really true, though, because what I've found is I've poured my heart and soul into a doll, and they still want it for $50. Nobody wants to pay the extra inflated price, so why go to that much trouble? I'm not saying make crappy dolls because they'll sell better. I'm saying a little less worrying and fussing over your doll will still make a nice doll, and you won't go crazy trying to make some high-end doll that nobody wants to buy because it's too expensive. I don't really know. I know people do sell dolls for $500 and $600 a doll. I don't. I don't have 3 years to sell my doll. I've had some very, very nice-looking, lovely dolls that I made way more high-end than some of the dolls I make, and they didn't sell any better because, well, you can't tell it in the pictures. They don't get it when you're telling them. They just want a bargain. That's it. And so I'm not going to say I make bargain babies. I make something in between a boo-boo / bargain baby and a high-end collectible that costs ultra amounts of money. And I try to keep my prices sort of on the lower side so they'll sell a lot quicker. And I depend on bulk to give me a profit. My profit margin is low because I don't ask that much for my dolls. I want to sell them. I want to make some money, but I don't need to become a millionaire or anything. I just enjoy my craft. Look, it's getting smaller and smaller. Look at that. You're going, it looks the same to me. And it might on camera, but it's not. It was much, much wider when I first started. But we're going to continue on here, pressing on. It's also getting less wide because every time I make a cut across, this little narrow slit over here becomes smaller and smaller. So it's not only getting skinnier, but it's getting narrower too, if that makes any sense. This way, the length of it, I guess. It's hard to keep the head at the angle you want because we're to that really critical part that you can't really put it in any one particular little pre-formatted shape or angle. You have to keep changing it, and it's harder than doing it when you first begin. Some people do what they call combo hair, and what they do is they either paint or draw on the hair with pencils, and then in select locations they root hair on top of it, but not over the whole head, and they call that combo hair. I think it's funky looking. Mostly they put a tuft of hair up on top that you can comb and stuff and put a little bow in if it's a girl and stuff like that. And it's just funky looking to me. I don't like it. But hey, to each his own. Just like some people make cuddle babies. I don't like them either. I did make some because I had bought these heads from Bountiful Baby. Little did I know, in about a month they were going to put up some arms and legs on a really good sale too. I could have made complete babies out of them, but I'd already made and sold the cuddle babies by the time the arms and legs went on sale. But the thing about cuddle babies is a lot of people, some companies only sell the heads. That's all they sell. And people just buy a head, and then they don't want to buy the separate limbs. And so they just make a cuddle baby out of it. And some people are absolutely satisfied with that. In fact, I saw this lady had put a post in our doll group that she was going to take the arms and legs off of her doll and put a cuddle body on it because it made it softer and cuddlier. But then they have these big, fat, clothy hands. I don't like it. It's ugly. I do like my dolls to be cuddly, but not so much like that. And their legs are like that too. The clothes don't fit very good. They just look funky to me. But they do make some high-end cuddle bodies too. And we're talking the cuddle body all by itself, no head, just the cuddle body, and not stuffed or anything. It's just a cuddle body. You have to stuff it yourself. It's $100. My friend bought believe it or not, a silicone doll that was a silicone cuddle. It just had a silicone head and a cuddle body, but the cuddle body was one of those high-end cuddle bodies, and she said it was real, real cute. It was a little less clumpy looking, and it had actual individual fingers and stuff, but this cuddle body she said she looked it up, and it was over $100 just for that cuddle body. But if you're making a silicone, I guess you got to provide something like that, because a regular cuddle body is cheap and teddy bearish looking. And it's great for a kid. If you want to make a kid something and you don't want them to have to have all that extreme doll stuff, you don't want the arms and the legs and putting glass and all that, the cloth body and all that. Seems a little much for the tiny little child you're giving it to, like my granddaughter. I know I made her a real doll, but I just don't make cuddle dolls. I just don't do it. And then you go, what am I going to do with, all the dolls I buy come with limbs. And Bountiful Baby actually usually makes their heads so expensive that you could have bought a whole kit. But some people just don't use the limbs. They just repurpose them or sell them or something. And that's fine too, if that's what you want to do. But I just don't want to do that. You have all these extra limbs and you're trying to find, like, let's say, for example, when I was doing Emmy, she had those little tiny 1/4 limbs. And so I was looking for limbs for her, and I was going, okay, what do I do here? I have these limbs, these limbs, these limbs, and these limbs. But I don't know. Which one do you pick? I ended up giving her Pearl's limbs because I made Pearl into a practice head. And now look at our little wedge. It's even shorter. I started filling in on this side. Anyway, long story short, you can do all of those things if you want to. Any of those things. It's not necessarily a good idea, but people all have their own ideas and what they think is a good idea. Also, customers have different ideas too. So if you're trying to please a wide variety of people, you might want to make a wide variety of different kinds of dolls. And even though Emmy might be sought after as a 1/4 baby, I'm not making her like that. I made her for myself, and I didn't want a 1/4 baby. And so I'm keeping her. I had another one that was very nice, I think this one's a little bit nicer, but the one I had was very nice too, and I sold her. I had a wake and a sleep Emmy, and they both had, one had Darren limbs, and I think the other one had pearl limbs also, but I liked them very much, but you know my policy, put everything on sale. Why am I keeping all these dolls? I don't need this many dolls. And then what did they do? They discontinued Emmy. But she's supposed to be, all these Reborns that were discontinued are supposed to be coming back, but when? When are they coming back? That's what I want to know. Are they really coming back? And if so, when are they doing this? Because I don't see any moves toward doing it. So I'm wondering if they really are going to do it or not. So we'll see, I guess. Okay, this bundle's getting too hard to root. I'm going to take the rubber band off. And it frees up some of it. See, it frees up this whole end that the rubber band was on to make it a little bit less hard to root, I guess is all I'm saying. I'm still going to hold it by that end, but it's a little more open. It's a little more going to slide out, especially if you put your rubber band on tight. That's why I only use a 3 twist, because I want the hairs to come out of the rubber band and go into the doll's head instead of ripping out of the doll's head and staying in the bundle. And now it's going to fall apart, it looks like. This whole bundle's going to just fall apart. Our slit's becoming a tiny slit now. I'm going to get through this hopefully before the hour's up. We're up to 46 minutes, so we don't have long. Yep, we're getting there, see? Making my way over on this row, and our little slit's becoming a very tiny slit now. It just takes time. You just have to be patient. Rooting is a long process. And you don't have to, unless you have a custom that somebody's wanting, you don't have to get done at any certain time. You can take your time on it. I like to stick with one thing until I'm finished. A lot of people will root a while and they'll put it aside and they'll start another doll. And I've done that myself, but then I find that I'm way behind on my rooting, and I got 6 heads lined up and I'm still working on that same one because I put it aside. And so I like to stick with it until I finish it. I can finish painting a doll in one day. And if I was to want to work 5 hours oh crap, I bet I broke my phone. If I was wanting to work 5 hours that night, no, it didn't break. Whew, don't even have a case on it. I could probably root the doll in one night too, but I don't know about working all day on a doll and then rooting for 5 hours. That's about how long it takes, about 5 hours. It took me 15 hours to root my first doll, and it barely had hair, and it was horrible looking. Oh, it was horrible. I didn't know anything about directions or angles or anything. And I just was stabbing the head straight on like that all over the head. It was horrible. But I did root a doll, and I broke about 25 needles doing it. I ordered a pack of 25. I think that's about how many you get in Bountiful Baby's needles. I ordered them from Bountiful Baby. They're too expensive. I don't get my needles from Bountiful Baby. I get them from Dolls by Sandy. And some people buy those pink needles. They call them pink. They're like this, except this part is coated with a pink vinyl-y looking stuff. I don't know why. Maybe it's so it won't slip around in your hand, but I got used to the way it feels. It's not, some people put rubber bands around it, but I find it's not, look how tiny our slit is now. I find it's not a good idea to put rubber bands on it because it puts pressure on a certain area of the needle and it will break. I broke too many needles when I was putting rubber bands around them. But the rubber bands do help. Once you get the feel for it, how to hold your needle and everything, you can see on my finger it's cutting a rut in my finger because it's pressing in that one spot for such a long time. It's making that little dent. And it kind of does get sore. Eventually, if all you did was root dolls, you'd get a callus there or something probably. But, you know, I switch back and forth and root for a while, paint for a while. Root for a while, paint for a while. But like I said, I did paint. I did root a lot today. I finished rooting Kyra. And while I was waiting for one of my videos to download, and as soon as it got finished, I started this one. So this video, not this doll. I started this doll the other day. But yeah, once you get the hang of how to hold your needle, it's going to be a lot easier. "51 minutes. That's how long I've been rooting on that slit that I thought would probably take 15 minutes. Boy, was my head inflated. The head just keeps moving around. I can't hardly keep it still. And my arm's so tired. But we are getting there. Smaller and smaller. And when we finish this, we'll be ready to cut. And cutting is a lot more interesting than rooting. Rooting is boring. That's why I don't make very many videos of rooting, because it's super boring. But this was supposed to be a complete start to finish doll, so I felt compelled to root on a video. I hate rooting on a video because I have to sit in here for one thing to do it. And I like to root in my bedroom. It's much more comfortable, and I don't get so much hair on my table. And I am so tired. My arm is killing me. I'm also not, because my arm is hurting so bad, I'm not getting much hair into the head because I'm just not doing it right or something. But if I stop now, it's going to be tomorrow probably before I go back to it. I'm going to finish. I'm almost there. Even though my arm is killing me. This is what I'm talking about being too tired to root. If you're really too tired to root, you really should stop. And holding my hands up this high. The pillow on the table makes it too high. My table in there is much lower. And well, actually I can move it up and down. It's one of them tables that you get if you're if you're in the hospital and in your room, that they bring you your tray to eat, and it's that rolly table. My son got it for me a long time ago when I was sick, and so I could eat in bed. And I still have it, and it's still good, and I can sit up in the bed and put that across the bed and root my doll while I watch television. And I can make it as high or as low as I want, with the restriction of my body is actually right there, so it can't go any lower than that. But it's very helpful. If you want to sit on the side of the bed, you can do it that way. If you want to sit up in the bed like you're watching TV, you can do it that way. It doesn't matter. You do it the way you want to. And so I root on that table, and it's a different size and a different height. And holding my arms up this high is not good for my fibromyalgia. Ugh, it doesn't feel good at all. teeny. We're getting there. Okay, we're still just rooting straight down from the top. I'm just wildly poking here. I'm not even hitting my target because my arms are killing me. Not getting much in the head either, and that's disturbing me because I am tired. I want to stop. But I also want to be done with this. I want to cut the hair. My hair bundle's falling apart. Look at that. Oh, come on, Marissa. No hair will go on that spot. It means I'm doing something wrong. It's me. Sliver. Get all these tangles out before we go any further. Okay, let's see if I can make one of these bundles work a little better. I don't know. Let's put that one aside for right now. This one's also very knotted. Look at that. It doesn't matter as long as the hair will go in the head. But if you're not getting the hair to go in the head, it matters. It's going in, so that's good. So far, it's good. Don't like much, so we're gonna push through the pain here. Brush that some more. It's a garbage can back there behind me if you wonder what I'm doing with that hair. Ooh, this is very, very tricky right here. I could easily break a needle. I can tell it's going in at a very weird angle. Having to hold the head with this hand so it'll stay in the position I want, because it's just going to toss around on the pillow because we're at that weird angle. I can't even tell if any's going in. That means it's probably not. But look, oh, it's so tiny now. Yeah, not getting anywhere here. Okay, let's try another one. Try this one. Sometimes the one you were trying last is the one that'll work now. You know, before you move to the bundle you're currently on, you were using some other tangled up bundle and it was working. It starts working again. for the area you're in, this is not doing anything as far as I can tell. No, nothing. Let's try this one. This last little bit seems harder than the whole rest of the head. I'm not saying it's taking longer, it just seems hard. It seems difficult to get the hairs to go in. That's because I'm so tired, that's what it is. Oops, I'm poking myself with the needle too. Not hard enough to bleed though. Thank goodness. I'm gonna have to fill a little more in there, but if I can get her unrooted, I'm gonna go on and cut her hair. Fill in later with some short hair. We're a little over a minute now. I mean an hour. A minute. What am I thinking? Wishful thinking, I guess. Still got a ways to go here, but not too far. There's little areas tiny now. I'm just trying to fill it in. Only getting a few hairs at a time. This bundle's so tiny. We are getting there. I'm going to take the rubber band off this one too and hope it'll help. Oh. These are the problems of rooting. Oh. I hope that's not... Oh, did you know you're still watching this item? I hate that when that happens. Yep. Okay. I don't care how much you give me off that huge lot of Reborn doll kits. I'm not going to buy them. I don't like the kits that were in it. I just looked at it online to see what kits were in it, and I thought it was extremely hyper overpriced for what you were getting. And now they're trying to get me. You know, if you just look at something on eBay, sometimes they send you an offer. I don't know how they're able to do that because, well, I guess it'll say, because you showed interest. I just looked at it. Didn't really show any interest. I'm not interested in it. After I looked at it, I realized I didn't want it. Well, that's the kind of things I wish I could block. But every time I try to block stuff like that, it blocks messages from potential buyers and stuff like that too. And I don't want that. So I guess I have to put up with all that crap. I didn't used to do that. eBay used to be much better. It looks filled in, but it's not completely filled in. I can see the head right through the little sparse hairs that are actually right there. Trying to just get a few more hairs in there to make it fully rooted so I don't have to come back later and try to reroot this little area that seems to not want to root because I'm too tired to root it. Yep, there still needs to be a little more hair right there. Let's see what we've got. A bald spot, that's what we've got. I don't know if you can see it. I'm gonna try to show it to you. Maybe you can see it. Maybe it looks like hairs there, I don't know. It kind of looks like hairs there, but I can tell it's bald. And I bet you can too. There's a little spot right there. See it? I'm going to try this hair again and see what I can do. If it seems to be pulling back out of the head. That makes me crazy when that happens. Oh, some of that went in, I could tell. We're almost there. Hour, 5 minutes. That's not too long to root that little section, I guess. I actually thought it might take an hour and a half, but it's not going to. Okay, we're going to call that rooted. That looks rooted to me. I'm going to brush it out and see. Looks very good, I think. Okay, this is uncut hair now. And you can be the judge yourself if you think we need to make a swirl. I sort of brushed one into his hair. If you want a swirl, there's your swirl. Now, I'm going to stop the video, and when we come back, which is going to be in 30 seconds or less, we're going to cut some doll's hair. So tune into the next video, please, so you can see how to cut your doll's hair. And please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and happy reborning.